Hello, welcome to Get Your Mind On. I'm Lori Stohs. So you've continued to be a successful manager, and congratulations, you're now moving up to a higher level in the organization, becoming an executive or a leader. Well, lots of people say leaders aren't leaders anyone. Yes, they are. But today we're going to talk about that transition of becoming a successful executive from a management role. And so some of you may say, gosh, that's way out there for me. But I really want you to take a look at this, whether it's that you're that individual who's moving from a manager to an executive level, or maybe you're an individual who has a manager or an executive, because I think it's important for you to understand the transition of what the difference is. You know, we start our careers as in a certain trade or an interest, whether that's choosing accounting or sales or marketing or management or whatever it might be, and that's what we go into. And so we think about that's kind of our identity as we go through our journey. And then when we become a manager, we think about that management of people and that management of projects. And so the actual work we do around that trade is a little bit different as we start developing others and focusing on them as individuals. And then when we move to that executive level, guess what? There's a little shift even more. The actual work that we're doing around the initial, area of interest maybe that we have is very minimal. Our management component or percentage of time that we spent is a little bit more. And then that executive leadership level is a much, much greater period of time that we spend. So when you think about that, some people get to that leadership role and go, gosh, I miss the work because I love doing the work. Well, guess what? The work transitions, the work shifts. The work shifts to different kinds of things. Instead of, quote, doing the work, you're really setting the organization to think about what does this mean for the organization? Where are we heading? What is the direction for us? What's the success of what we look like? What's the vision? A lot of people really have to think about what does that mean to be that executive level leader. And sometimes it's really hard for people, especially when you love the work. There's some of us who just love checking the box and getting things done. We have to really move and look at our to-do list. And our to-do list looks a little different. It's really based upon what are those internal relationships and external relationships that we're looking at for the organization, for the direction of where we're heading. It's also thinking about the organization as a whole and saying, my job now is really to set everyone else up for success. That I know at some point in time when I move and I leave, that everyone is moving and grooving and they're in the right role and they're successful. That's really what that is about. And really what's kind of sad today is I work with lots of organizations on succession planning. And when I think about succession planning, we feel that we're doing that. And then it gets to the point of we need to do this succession and know somebody's retiring. And all of a sudden, it's like we have no one. And so we stop and say, why do we get to that period of time where we thought we had people? And then finally, when it's time to turn the keys over, we don't feel confident about that. So that's really at that executive leadership role, we really need to be thinking about those people in the organization, guiding them, setting them up for success, and making sure that they have a development plan moving forward. That's really what we have to look at. That management piece is still there. We're really managing people day to day, and that's more about managing the delegation of the, if we look at a large organization, that we own as a leader, we have to look at each component of that and how do we delegate that to each person. So we're managing pieces, but we're managing the delegation of those to our leaders and managers that we have in place. So again, it just looks different, and it really is thinking about what does that really mean to manage that work and manage those people to success. And again, the work is different. We're getting further and further away from that trade, but we really have to think about how do I look at the work differently as a leader? So how do you get there? I think that's the thing. Some of you may be there. Some of you may be managers saying, how do I get there? Well, again, it goes back to first you understanding who you are and knowing if that's what you want to do. Each of us is here on this earth to do a certain purpose or have a purpose and to do a certain thing. I think not everybody's set for that. Some people love it, some people don't. Individual performers, we need you all. We need experts. So we really have to think about that might be the role for you. A manager might be a role for you because you love the projects, you love the people management. Stay there. Leadership is that executive level has a lot more stress, but some people are made. They have the woven, the pieces of them that are just woven together that have that dreams and the desires and the setting direction and that type of thing that can take an organization to a new level. So if you're sitting there at that management position asking if that's for you, just stop and evaluate that to see, do I really want to lead and how do I transition? And how do you get there? So how do you get there is have conversations with others, have conversations with mentors, ask for feedback, get more information on that level. I think sometimes people don't know, well, how would I transition to that? It's really just digging deep, understanding what that means. Also get a coach. I find that there's a lot of executives moving from management to leadership that aren't quite sure how to make that transition. Again, we kind of figure it out as we go, but I have a lot of people who have two coaches. One may be a coach that knows the organization and helps them in the organizational structure and the business side, and one who maybe knows them personally and can really help them overcome some of the challenges that they encounter. So for positive charge this week, I want you to think about first is when you think about executive leadership, what excites you about that? Second is, how easy is it for you to transition from manager to leader? And three, what might be the steps that you take to do that? We need all types in all organizations, and managing is so important, and leadership is important, and so is individual development. But I really want you to think about if you're a manager today and transitioning to that leadership role, how important that is to think about what does it mean to do that and how you can be successful for others. Thanks for joining us today, and remember to get your mind on.